Is very weighty one, and these two topics, one is the ego, the other is the pleasure pain cycle. So I want to do justice to these two topics. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om Shruti Smruti Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavad Pada Shankaram Adveshta Sarva Bhutanam Maitrah Karuna Evacha Nirmamo Nirahankaraha Samadukha Sukha Kshami. So this verse, it presents a few characteristics of a devotee. Means when you find that quality in a person, you can conclude that he is the devotee. So Adveshta Sarva Bhutanam Maitrah Karuna Evacha Ityadi. So a devotee means a loving person, one who loves. No, one who loves God, true, one who loves God. But God is everything, God is all. Vishwarupaha, God is Vishwarupaha. Therefore God is all. You see, when a person is occupied with exploitation, like he exploits other people, and he is occupied with greed, he can never know love. Generally, we see a kind of fragmentary thinking in people's lives. Fragmentary thinking. They look at life as fragments. They do not understand that life is an organic whole. It is not fragments. Like a gentleman came to me and said, Swamiji, I want to talk about spiritual life with you. Then I said, why not talk about life? So we believe that life is divided into fragments. One is worldly life and spiritual life. It is like this side of the river and that side of the river. So worldly life is this side of the river, spiritual life is that side of the river. I said there is no such thing. So it is something like you go back to your home, that is worldly life. You come to Rishikesh, it is spiritual life. This is called fragmentary thinking. It is wrong. So similarly, people believe that in the place of business, while doing business or while making money by any other means, you have to exploit. You have to tell a lie. You have to be unjust. Otherwise you cannot make profit. Otherwise you cannot make money. You have to do all that. And we do it. But when we go home, we are very loving. Love family and children. And then when we go to temple, we are again loving. Love the poor beggars there and give 10 paisa each. Whatever. So this way, we are occupied with greed, envy and exploitation in one part of the life, and then try to isolate that part and keep it aside, and then try to be very devotional and all that. It is not going to happen like that. So the love of the family, children, etc., it is not love of the family and children. It is all attachment. And so you cannot be exploiting or exploitative at one place and loving in some other place. You have to have love in your heart, wherever you are, whether it is in business or in the job or in whatever profession it is, you should have love in your heart. Everywhere. You cannot have this kind of a fragmentary thinking or fragmentary way of looking at life. Therefore, we should stop exploitation. In fact, we don't need all the money that we are making. This is the huge problem. So we delude ourselves that A millionaire thinks he needs his millions. He cannot afford to lose his millions. He needs his millions. A billionaire thinks he needs his billions. He cannot afford to lose his billions. Suppose he loses billions and becomes millionaire, how can he live? So that is what a billionaire thinks. A very simple thinking is there for the millionaire also. How can I live without my millions? So they get it all wrong, and therefore they continue the process of exploitation, and then claim that we are very loving people at home and when it comes to worship of God, etc. It is all wrong. You should be loving all through. That is the true love. That is the bhakti. I told you, I will give a snippet of love or bhakti every day. So that is the snippet for today. Adveshta sarvabhutanam maitrah karuna evacha. I am done with that part, but then this karunaha, one small anecdote came to my mind, which I don't want to skip because I liked that anecdote. There was the king, the popular king Janaka. Popular means in the spiritual literature he is well known. In Gita also we hear the name Janaka. They say Janaka is not Mr. Janaka. Janaka is a title. That is how they say. There are 21 Janakas, like there are 28 Vyasas. They say like that. In the Puranic literature itself they say like that. So one of those Janakas, not the Janaka, the father of Sita, but one of those Janakas, he died. And as the story goes, the messengers from the heaven came to take him to heaven because he was a very pious person. And then they are taking him to heaven. There is a path, This is the story, Puranic story. So you have to traverse a path. It is like going to America. So you have to take two hops, one hop to Europe and another hop to Europe or Middle East, and another hop to America. So there is a way, there is a path. So he is going. And while going, he was taken happily by these messengers, but suddenly he heard bitter cries from the distance. And then he was a very kind person, Karunaha, and he stopped in his tracks and asked these people, hey, people are crying. Of course it is from a long distance, far away, but who are they? They are crying. The messengers told, sir, you just don't distract yourself like that. Please come, let us go to heaven. Indra is waiting for you. All pleasures are waiting for you in heaven. There is a big welcoming party in the heaven. And Rambha, Urvashi, etc., they are all waiting to start the dance program, so that you can relax and watch the dance and all that. So then he said, no, all that can wait, not a big hurry. First let me know what is that. Sir, it doesn't deserve your attention. No, you tell me what is it. Are you sure, sir? Yes, that is hell. We are going through the bypass road of the hell. And within 1 or 2, 3 kilometers there is the hell, and all the people, jivas, they are suffering, they are persecuted there, and therefore they are crying bitterly. That is the hell. Then suddenly, oh, is it so? So they are persecuted that much, poor jivas. Sir, don't say poor and all that. They have earned their suffering. That is the law of karma. Then suddenly, now how come the cries and all that have suddenly stopped? They have stopped. How come? Sir, there may be some reason for it. We cannot answer all your questions. Maybe there is a shift change. A shift to B shift to C shift, something like that. And it will resume. The suffering will resume and the cries also will resume. Let us move on, sir. You asked us for a question and we have answered, we have obliged you. No, I want to find out why they have stopped crying. And then they are not crying anymore. Then they have consulted among themselves. They cannot disobey this great soul, because that is their job to take him happily to heaven, because he is a great spiritual person. So they have come out, blurted out, sir, you are such a pious person The wind that has touched you went to the hell, and by its touch their suffering was mitigated even temporarily, and that's why they are not crying. Then he said, I am sitting here. No, you have to go to heaven. No, I am not going to heaven. Because as long as I sit here, my presence and the wind carrying somehow the ambience or vibrations or whatever name you give, it makes them comfortable, makes them, it soothes their suffering. I am sitting here. I am not coming to heaven. You can go. So he sits there. And they become desperate, and they go to Indra and tell him, so that he is not coming. He is sitting on the bypass road of hell. Then Indra said, no, it is my duty to give them happiness that he has earned because of his karmas, and I have to bring him here. That is the law. I cannot violate the law, So what to do now? Indra comes and requests him, sir, enough is enough, you have done enough service to them, please come to heaven. Now what will happen if I come to heaven? Their suffering will start again. Sir, that is not your lookout. You have to come. He said, I am not coming. I am sitting here. And then Indra goes back and he goes to Brahmadeva because he has to solve this riddle. And went to Brahmadeva and told this. Brahmadeva came. You cannot violate the laws that I have created this universe. You have to come to heaven. They have to suffer, that is the law. And you have to enjoy the heaven, that is also the law. You are violating two laws in one stroke. He said, I am not coming. Then Brahmadeva went back and appealed to Vishnu. That is the hierarchy, And Vishnu came. He gave the same reply to Vishnu. Then Vishnu said, you see, they have suffering in them. And you have a lot of punya in you. That's why they are suffering and you have to enjoy. So you cannot say anything opposite to that. Then suddenly Janaka got a bright idea. He said, here and now I am surrendering all my punya to them, so that I become free from punya and I am sitting here. Then Vishnu said, oh my God, now your punya has become double. So you have to come to heaven. If you don't come to heaven, I cannot go back to Vaikuntha either. I have to sit here with you. This is the problem. Then he said, okay, you sit. Then in Vishnu, he was helpless, so he sat there. And when Vishnu sat there, Brahmadeva sat there, Indra sat there. The message went to Lakshmi Devi. She came down and she asked Vishnu, what are you doing here? So Vishnu said, you see, I have no time to argue and all that. You take the message from me, I am sitting here, I cannot come now to Vaikuntha. Then she told, if you cannot come, I too cannot go to Vaikuntha. She sat there. And all the followers of Vishnu in Vaikuntha, Garuda, etc., they all came there. Now that became the Vaikuntha. And the people in the hell, they were all happy. This is the story, okay? Karula evacha. Akhandanandaji Maharaj told this story. Nirmamo nirahankaraha. You see, people are burdened with their ego. And as you are burdened with the ego by identification, you take the ego to yourself. That is the burden. Therefore, now we are exposed to the idiosyncrasies of the ego. And the ego is not real. Ego is the shadow of the reality. So, you see, as long as you believe yourself to be the ego, and ego or the person is real, so long you will fret and worry. Desire and fear, you cannot avoid. Because they are the very hallmarks of ego, the desire and fear. Once you realize that the ego is unreal, it is a shadow, and that impersonal awareness the awareness which is not a person. That is your true self. All fretting and worry come to an end. Then when you are an impersonal, you see all these actions, they are ego's actions. Ego is the karta bhokta. Ego is the doer and enjoyer. Once there is no ego, then who will do the actions? You see, the impersonal awareness, that is the inner reality of the self, that will provide the guidance. You are guided from within. You are not guided by the ego anymore. Life becomes a journey, a joyous journey to the unknown and unknowable reality. Therefore, you have to examine this issue of ego and you have to get rid of it. Ego is, this is mine. The way you feel and you think and feel, put it that way, the way you think and feel. You think and feel in terms of mine. This house, mine. A sannyasi may not be different. A sannyasi may feel this ashram, mine. These shishyas, mine. Some of these Mahatmas or Swamis, when the Shishya goes to another Swami, they become jittery. You should not go. They say, you should not go to all Swamis. Sometimes the students ask me, Swamiji, when you are not there, what shall we do? I don't know. You go to anywhere you like. No, that Swami is coming. Go there. I tell, go there so that I can feel free. There is freedom in it. No, you don't go there. You are all my sishyas. That is the worst possible bondage. And people suffer because of that bondage. But anyway, that is how the samsara is. So, when you understand that the ego is unreal, your bondage is over. You see, what is the ego? Ego is the sum total of memories. You say you were born on so-and-so date, that is the memory, and that contributes to the ego. You show all your photographs of your childhood. This is I was child, this is a high school, this is college. All those photographs you show. You are not doing any service to yourself. You feel great about it, but you are hurting yourself. Because you are building the ego. Then you show the album and when you have taken sannyasa. Unnecessary, So then that is the worldly, that is the sannyasa people. And then the worldly people, this is my marriage album. Turn the page. And then suddenly there is another lady. Hey, who is this? Oh, that is my second wife. That was the first wife. This is the album. This album is in the head, It is not only in the outside, it is in the head. Therefore, this is how you build the ego. And so ego is the sum total of memories. And memory is what? Memory is dead. It is the past and it is the dead. There is no truth in it. There is no reality in it. Whereas the impersonal is real. The impersonal is real. The personal appears and disappears all the time. Even when you hold on to the personal, it is not there all through the waking state. There are always gaps. Only when you are self-conscious, the personal is there. When you are not self-conscious, it is not there. When you are lost in the impersonal, when you lose yourself in the impersonal, the ego is not there. In dream, there is a different ego. This ego is not there. Sometimes the same ego may be there, but it is not the same ego. The person is crying bitterly in the waking state, but he is laughing happily, the same person in the dream state. Therefore, it is not the same ego. And in sleep, there is no ego at all. Therefore, ego all the time appears and disappears. So, you are not the ego. You see, you have to understand, I am is the impersonal. I am this or I am that is the personal. You keep that in mind. Okay, so when the ego subsides, when there is no ego, you become silent. And the real comes to the fore. in that silence. Therefore, you have to dismantle that ego. Ego you have built based on memory and identification, and so you dismiss the memory, you give up the past. I mean, don't become demented or some such thing. I am not saying that. I am saying you just ignore the past. Stop identifying with the past. Your mind will be fresh. You can remember anything you want to remember, but you are not identifying. And therefore the past is no more sitting as a burden on your head. Past will be there, but it is no more a burden. And so then there is no ego. There is the impersonal awareness, and life moves smoothly. So that the state of egolessness you have to arrive at. That egoless awareness is the spirituality. That is the devotion. That is the bhakti. You see, people have got all wrong about bhakti. It is all wrong. The masses practice some religion. That is you are not supposed to practice the same religion. Whatever good elements are there, you can take. But the religion that we, the students of Vedanta, practice must be what is called the Vedantic religion. That is what you have to practice, not the same religion of the masses. They have a reason to practice it, that they are ignorant. Even that reason you don't have. You are supposed to be knowledgeable, you know. Therefore, you have to dismantle this ego. That is the real devotion. That is the real spirituality. You see, when you look at the life, there is a center in you. The center. Let me use the word center. That is the ego. There is a center in you. The center has a little space within itself because it is moving. The ego is moving. Wherever there is movement, there must be some space. So there is a little space in the ego. But then there is some more space around the ego. But there is always a perimeter, a circumference. So the things which you call mine, my house, my wife, my property, my gold, etc., they are all within that perimeter, within that circumference. Therefore there is the center, which is the me, and then there is a circumference which includes the mine, and so this me moves within that perimeter. It is free to move within that perimeter. You got the point, the model? But you have to understand, as long as there is a center, there is a circumference. There is a small space in the center and there is a little more space within the circumference. And the movement is within that. And that space is limited. As long as there is center, the space in which the center moves is limited. Means you are living like a prisoner in a prison. You got it? Sometimes the prisoner has the freedom to walk inside the prison yard. He is free. And so he is happily walking inside the prison yard. But still he is prisoner. Okay? Sometimes, once in a week, the prisoners are given some special food. Holy, so give special food to the prisoners. And so they enjoy the special food. Still, they are prisoners. Sometimes a new governor has come and he said, give bigger or slightly bigger or more spacious cells to the prisoners and provide some extra toiletries to the prisoners. So they get all that. But still they are prisoners. Okay? So, therefore, as long as there is the center and there is that perimeter or circumference, you are free to move within that, but you are a prisoner. There is no freedom. You don't know what is freedom. Because the center has created that limited space. The center has created that limited space called mine. In creating the limited space, the center, which is the me, ego, has also created time. It not only created the limited space in which it moves, at the same time, because the space and time go together, it has created time. And now it has become a slave to the space and time of its own. Like people suffer from the memory of the past. They suffer from the guilt and hurts. This is how the ego has created time, and it has become a prisoner of that time. It has created space with a perimeter. Though it is free within the perimeter, it is still the prisoner. This is how, so the ego is bound. This is the model. The meaning of the model is people, you and I. We are bound. We are bound to house, property, family. Then we are bound to the community. And then you are bound to the religion, culture, my culture, my tradition. You are bound to the tradition. And then you are bound to the gurus, my guru. The guru cannot live ever, forever. He has a physical body and so he has to die. But you don't give up the idea of my guru with reference to a physical body. So that is the perimeter or circumference you have created. And then you have created the time also. My past, my childhood, my birthday, my 60th birthday, my sannyasa day, or my marriage day. What is marriage day? What do you mean by marriage day? I feel stumped when somebody invites me for marriage day. You have to be polite, therefore you keep mouth shut. That's all. What do you mean by marriage day? Once the marriage day is over, the guy will start fighting with her. God forbid, he may fight the same day itself. Once the guests depart, then the fight resumes. So, therefore, now a question arises. Is it possible not to have a center and yet live in the world? Is it possible? Yes, it is possible to live in this world completely, fully, doing your job, doing everything that you are supposed to do with tremendous vitality, without a center. You don't need a center to do the job properly. With a tremendous vitality, dhrityutsaha samanvitaha, as Sri Krishna says, mukta sangaha anahamvadi, there is no ego, but yet dhrityutsaha samanvitaha, courage, enthusiasm, with that you do your work. And so, it is possible. So, how to get rid of this ego? So, first, do you want to get rid of it? People don't want to get rid of the ego. You know what they say, how can we live in this world without ego? That is what they say. I told you, you can live happily with vitality. Then some people say, how can we do our rituals without ego? So now you have become a slave to the rituals. They determine your status. Then why do you say Aham Brahmasmi now and then? It is not fun thing, you know. It is not some fun Aham Brahmasmi, Tattvamasi. Kya tamasha hai kya? So therefore you have to understand, and in your wisdom you have to plan to dismantle the ego. Dismantle it. How to dismantle? You find out those elements which create the ego, which nourish the ego, which keep the ego standing and strong, standing strong. What are those elements? They are obvious, always harping on the past, my birth, my marriage, my sannyasa or whatever. So my first wife, my second wife, or my son, my daughter, they are nowhere around. The son and daughter, they don't care for this old man at all. If he has still got some property with him, they are waiting to grab it. Kabir Das says, दुनिया है पैसे के भाई, like that there is a song. ये दुनिया पैसे के भाई, the relatives, ये पैसे के है. They are not relatives of you, they are relatives of your wealth. ये पैसे के दुनिया भाई. Nobody is your friend. He is friend to your wealth. He is friend to your riches. And like that, it is like that. You see, one day I complained to a friend of mine. We were walking somewhere in New York, and I complained, oh, the energy levels are low, and I think I have to put an end to this traveling and all that. Something like that I was complaining. That is my nature. I have a mental block. That's why I complain like that. Then the friend asked me, hey Swami, why are you complaining like that? What is your age? I said, why? Leave alone the age thing. No, you tell me, let me understand. Is it 70 or not yet? Then why do you complain? If it is not 70, then that is not the age to give up anything. In West, the guy gets married at that age. That is what he told me. He is planning to get married at that age. That is the age to get married here. And you talk as if the age has come and all that. What is that? Like he was saying like that. Therefore, you have to dismantle all these elements of ego. You see, you have to understand, you have to say verbally, I was never born. Come on, I was never born. You have to say verbally. A Mahatma asked me, Swamiji, what is your age? I told him, hey Swamiji, do you want to know my age? Is it necessary? Do you feel that it is important? You are not the body, you know. Then he said, okay, leave it. Thank you. So you say it verbally and you feel it emotionally. I was not born. I'm not going to accept that I was born. I'm not born to a set of parents and all that in a given place and time and no. And I'm not going to die. And then you understand it intellectually. And then you feel it in your soul, in the depths of your soul. You have to do all that. Then only you will be able to own up. Otherwise you will be swept in this folly of the world. Therefore, you examine that ego and unravel it. See what are the elements that are making it stronger. And so as you examine, the ego will fall apart. It will fall. Ayi patatyaham nija vibhanakam. Something like that in Upadesha Sara. Ramana Maharshi says, Ayi means dear friend, that the ego falls and the truth of the self shines brilliantly. Therefore, you have to handle this ego and you have to be done with it. And the Sri Krishna's promise, you do this much. Dismantle the ego, mine and me, in that order. No mine, that is vairagya. No me, that is viveka. So that it is sadhana chatushtaya. Viveka is no me, no ego. Vairagya is no mine. Two things of sadhana chatushtaya. Now what is left? Shamadamadi, to keep the mind quiet, and mumuksha, to know what is the goal of life. Over. That is the sadhana chatushtaya. Therefore, Shri Krishna says, you take care of this much. Nirmamo nirahankaraha. This much you take care. The desires and fears, they are the strong elements of ego. They make the ego strong. Therefore, every time you desire something of the world, so you are strengthening the ego. Every time you are superstitious and afraid of something or the other. I said superstitious because fear and superstition always go together. They are always together. So most of the fear is born of superstition, most of it. Some of it may be of different cause. So therefore you give up all these superstitions and be rational and scientific in your thinking, in understanding life and the world, and give up this idea that this is my house, my property, my wife, my children and all that. Be very loving to all of them, but don't try to possess and dominate people, and understand that you don't own anything. Very simple. So once you fulfill that much, nirmamo nirahankaraha sa shantim adhigacchati esha brahmi sthitihi partha. That is the Brahmanhood. You have already merged in the Brahman. That is the Jivan Mukti here and now. You see, self-realization is not in the future. Self-realization is always in the now and here. Knowledge is like that. Knowledge is in the future. Knowledge is not in the future. Because in knowledge there is no time. In karma there is time. You should know some of these basics of science. In knowledge, if you abide in your swarupa, there is no time in it. Time is when there is movement. When there is no movement, Atma is nishkriyam and it is kotastha. You say the word kotastha all the time, like a parrot. If it is kotastha, then there is no time in it. Time implies movement. Without movement, in kotastha means immutable. There must be mutation. Muta must be there. Then only there will be time. When the blessed thing is immutable, there is no time in it. And therefore, you become free from this space and time created by the ego, and that is the Brahmanhood. This is what I was saying. Knowledge is not time bound. Knowledge is not a process in time. So you open the eyes and you see. It is not a process, and so it doesn't involve time. And therefore, your attitude, your thinking that you will know in the future is all wrong. You will never know in the future, because in knowing there is no time. So you are binding yourself in time. Therefore, you have to realize that you are not the ego. That realization has to happen now and here. Nirmamo nirahankaraha samadukha sukhaha kshami. So this pleasure and pain discussion is very important, because people's movement, their life's movement in terms of dharma, artha, kama, all the three purusharthas, is meant for securing pleasure and keeping pain away. So this pleasure and pain have become the major goals in life. Our primary goals are the only goals. The only goals of life is acquire pleasure and keep the pain away. Dukkha parihara, keeping the pain away. Sukha prapti. This is what life has become. The worldly life, you make money because you want to keep dukkha away and gain sukha. You get all kinds of gadgets of pleasure, bhoga, only because you want pleasure and you want to throw away the pain. And you worship gods and goddesses because you want pleasure and you want to avoid pain. I'll ask you a question. A Mahatma asked me this question. I was stunned by the question. The Mahatma asked me, "Hey Swami, Tattvamasi, you know that?" I said, "How?" "Because I want to know." No, I know it already. Tattvamasi, I know. I studied it 20 years back. People don't know. Whosoever thinks like that, he just doesn't know. You take it from me. Buddhu hai. He just doesn't know. So I told the Mahatma, no, you tell me, sir. No, Tattvamasi, yeah, that only you tell me. Hey Swami, when you look into your consciousness, suppose there is no desire, even an iota of desire is not there in your consciousness. Suppose, you say suppose. And there is no fear in your consciousness. Means your consciousness is utterly free from desire and fear. Then that consciousness will it think of God? You answer. You will not think of God. You will not think of God. The moment you think of God means you think of God as the other. Why you don't think of God? Because Tattvamasi. Because Tattvamasi. You are the God. That's why. That's why it is indeed well said by Swami Vivekananda that desirelessness and fearlessness is godliness. That is Tattvamasi. You see, it is not about a debate between Dvaita and Advaita. What is the debate in what I said just now? What is the debate in that? Either you know it or go and sit on the tree. There is no debate. This is not some semantics or some gobbledygook that you debate about. There is no debate in it. Either you know it or you don't know it. Therefore, life, the way we understand, has become one single pursuit of pleasure and avoidance of pain. You should rejig your life. You have to think about it. You see, what you look at pain, this is the fragmentary thinking once again. You look at pleasure and pain as two different aspects of life, like North Pole and South Pole, opposite aspects of life. They are not so different after all, because you have to understand, pain is the price of pleasure. Therefore, when you seek pleasure and when you enjoy the pleasure, you have already sown the seed of pain in it. And it's only a matter of time when the seed sprouts and grows and the pain is in place. Sometimes you pursue pleasure in the evening and you get the pain next day morning. It is like that. So pain is the price of the pleasure, and so to know that pleasure and pain are one is peace. You do not have anything called pleasure unless you have known pain. So to know that pleasure and pain are one is peace. Also, the nature is neither pleasant nor painful. Nature, which is all around, it is neither pleasant nor painful. Nature is all intelligence, it is all intelligence. Look at the planets, how intelligently they are going round the sun. Look at the atoms, how intelligently they are arranged, and the particles within the atom are moving. Look at the birds, the trees, the creatures. Look at the body parts which are not in your control, and they are functioning very intelligently. Therefore, the nature is all intelligence and beauty. That is what nature is. Pleasure and pain are in the mind. You have a certain scale of values because of which certain aspects of the nature appear pleasant and certain other aspects appear painful. You change the scale of values, everything will change. So, you see, pleasure and pain are mere disturbances of the senses. There is a disturbance in the eyesight, a stimulation of the eyesight. There is a stimulation of the faculty of hearing. There is a stimulation of the taste buds. There is a stimulation which makes the mind move. These disturbances of the senses and the mind, they are the pleasure and pain. There is no other pleasure and there is no other pain. So these disturbances, suppose you avoid these disturbances, then you are neither pleasurable nor painful. So the pleasure and pain cycle abruptly ends once the disturbance of the senses and the mind is avoided. That's why if you sit in meditation, you are not pleasurable nor painful. Therefore, you have to understand that pleasure and pain are not opposites. And also I tell you one thing. From the birth till today, we were seeking pleasure. When we make money, we were seeking pleasure. When we acquire the gadgets of pleasure, we were seeking pleasure. And the most unfortunate part of it is, when we worship God, we are still seeking pleasure and trying to avoid pain. You just think about it. Suppose you stop seeking pleasure. Suppose. That is a way to live life. You have to think about it. You just stop seeking pleasure. For example, as a practical example, when you go for lunch or dinner, you stop seeking pleasure. Some food will be served and you eat it. Be more scientific about it, eat some healthy food, nutritious and healthy food. That is all you need. You don't stop seeking pleasure. You are not seeking pleasure anymore. Some pleasure may happen. Suppose they make jalebi in Bhandara. Today there is Bhandara. So they will make jalebi, some sweet item, and they serve it, and you eat it. There will be pleasure. But you are not seeking it. There is a big difference between the two. So you don't seek any pleasure. And so you eat not for the sake of pleasure. You know, people who eat for pleasure become sick. You show me a person who eats for pleasure, and I will show you a sick guy. Like that. Stop seeking pleasure. No, let us have some dance, it will be very pleasurable. Stop it. Stop seeking pleasure. Now let us have some music for pleasure. Don't have music for pleasure. Have music for devotion, not for pleasure. So you don't seek pleasure. Then what happens? You know what happens? Can you believe it? You will not know what is pain. You will not know. Then what happens? You go beyond the pleasure-pain cycle. The barrier between pleasure and pain collapses. There is a wall, this side of the wall is pleasure, that side of the wall is pain. That barrier collapses. Now the pleasure mixes with pain and pain mixes with pleasure, and now there is, once the pleasure becomes pain and pain becomes pleasure, then the blessed thing is neither pleasure nor pain, you know. The barrier is gone, the division is gone. And therefore, you will be in uninterrupted bliss, which is beyond the cycle of pleasure and pain. Therefore, you have to understand the pleasure and pain correctly. Don't seek any pleasure. Shri Krishna said, see, Gita is very practical. He says, so matra sparshastu kaunteya. Hey kaunteya, matra sparshaha. See, these sitoshna sukha dukkhada. These are disturbances of the sense organs. That is what they are. A stimulation or disturbance of the sense organ. That is what is Shita and Ushna, Sukha Dukkha. Shita and Ushna, cold and heat. That disturbs the sense organ called